What's up guys, GK here. Gonna take you through a broadhead tune and kind of what all we do as soon as the bow hits the shop. What I start out with, I wanna make sure everything is in a good starting point, and by that I mean I want my sight axes to be level because that's a good place to start. Don't want to be torquing the bow, shooting it through paper, just trying to get that bubble level. So what I've done so far is add this string level onto it, bubbles in the center, and I'm just checking my axis here on my sight bubble to make sure it's in the center, which it is. So that's a good starting point. From then I will go over to the draw board and just check timing, just because it's a good way to check it and just make sure we're starting off in a good spot. And if you guys don't understand what I mean by check timing, on a dual cam bow like the Phase 4, for example, when I draw this back and get it to full draw, I want these mods to hit on the exact same time on the cable. So in essence, those cams are rotating the exact same time and hitting. I don't want my top cam to be hitting first and my bottom cam lagging behind, so to speak. That can affect your up and down, shooting it through paper or shooting a broadhead or anything like that. So we'll check here. Top one's hitting. And you can see here I have just a little bit of a gap. I mean, it's close. I could probably put a half twist up top and level it out. And just to make sure our cams would be timed. And then the next thing I like to do, especially doing a broadhead tune, I like to run it through paper just to see. Sometimes paper won't tell you the exact truths. You know, if you're getting a perfect bullet hole, a broadhead could still be off, just depending on the make and model of the broadhead. But it's a good place to start. Make sure we're close on paper. And so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna run this through paper right quick and just see what kind of tear we're getting. And then we'll shoot a big, wide, single bevel broadhead just to see if it tunes. All right, so got timing in check. Just threw a little half twist up top. Bow's timed now. So what I'm gonna do is stand a good, maybe, I don't know, 5-6 feet away from this paper. And my main thing is I want to make sure I'm going to execute a good shot. Don't want to be torquing the bow, don't want to be slapping it too much, don't want to be doing anything that I would do out of the ordinary. It's crucial to make sure that bubble's level when you squeeze it off, because if it's not, let's say it's tilted over to the left, it's going to affect your tear. So let's just see what we're looking at through paper. This is a good starting point, and then we can see, what a broadhead looks like. So I'm going to get drawn back. I'm going to get my normal anchors. Try not to put too much facial pressure on the string, just anchor very normally. And then I'm gonna get that bubble centered, and then I'm gonna execute a good shot. So through this paper tear here, which is this hole right here, we can see my point here is just a little bit on the right side, showing more vein on the left. So that tells me I'm point right, or I like to call it knock left. I like to see where the knock is. So with this knock left tear here, as you're looking at it, that point's just barely over to the right. It's very close. It'd probably be a good starting point to shoot broadhead. But to get that perfect bullet hole like we talk about, that arrow's coming in and it's knock left. So meaning it's coming out and kicking, the backside's kicking just slightly to the left. So in order to move that, I could take the spacer out of the top cam on the Mathews bows and shift that cam left. I'm always gonna go in the direction of the knock as far as shifting the cam lean, or fall in the point with your rest. So point right, I'd just bump the rest slightly to the right, and that should straighten it up. But that's really, really close. I'm gonna shoot it one more time, just make sure I get a consistent tear, and then we'll check out a broadhead. All right, let's try it one more time, just to make sure we're consistent. All right, so that tells me the first shot could have been slightly me, because the second one is what I would call perfect. And you can see that point is directly in the center of all 4 veins. Get that good in there with all 4 evenly. That's why it's important for you to shoot a couple times. Could be you, it could be something very, very minor. I could have just slightly torqued pulling through that release. But that's a good tear, it's a great starting point. That doesn't always necessarily mean my broadhead's gonna be on though. You still got a broadhead tune it. So let's back up to 20 with a wide single bevel and shoot it and see what it looks like. All right, now we've checked timing, shot it through paper, sight axes are level. Now I'm just gonna shoot the broadhead, which this one that we're shooting is just a single bevel helix, which is just the FJ version. A really good single bevel that you can resharpen. But I'm gonna shoot it first, broadhead first, and then we'll shoot the field tip and to see kind of where they hit and where they're at. It's important when you're broadhead shooting, make sure you're gonna stand in the exact same place and kind of do the exact same thing again. So just be very mindful of that. All right. That was the broadhead, now here's the field tip. Let's go take a look at that. So we can see my broadhead hit a little lower and to the right of my field tip here. Always be careful when you're pulling these out. Field tip, perfectly spot on. I'm gonna go shoot it again just to make sure that first shot wouldn't have anything to do with me. If we get kind of a similar result with this broadhead hitting right, then we'll make some changes. All right, so the first shot, broadhead was just, you know, a little bit to the right. Make sure it wasn't just all me. I wanna make sure I get this consistent result. So always shoot your broadheads a couple times and make sure. All right. So broadhead is consistently a little bit lower and a little bit right of where my field tip's hitting. So we're gonna make a slight adjustment. So wherever that broadhead's hitting in relation to your field tip, so we're hitting a little bit low and a little bit right. What I'm gonna do is move the rest to the right, just slightly. We're just gonna chase that broadhead. We're just gonna move it just maybe a micro adjust over to the right. And since we're just a hair lower, I'm just gonna bump it up just slightly. We're not making big adjustments. Maybe, you know, on the height difference, I'm gonna do it like maybe 1/32 of an inch. That's why a micro rest is very, very crucial when you're broadhead tuning. And then I'm gonna kick it over just a little bit to the right just to try to straighten it up. So let's make those adjustments. All right, so since we're a little right, I'm gonna move my micro adjust to the right, just a fraction, and lock it back up. And then broadhead was consistently just a hair low. So I'm just gonna bump this rest up. I mean, guys, just a little bit. Again, that's why micro rest is so crucial when it comes to tuning. And we'll go up just a little. All right, made the adjustments. Let's see how it looks here. One just looked better coming out of the bow. Again, same spot. Again, guys, make sure your bubble's as level as possible in your sight. Make sure you're executing a good shot. All right, guys, so we just got done tuning this Mathews Phase 433. So with this specific bow and any other Mathews as far as like the 29 goes, or kind of any other older model as well that have this parallel limb system, yes, I just bumped the rest. You can do other things as far as shifting these top hats or spacers that's in between the cams. That's why when I get a bow brought into me, especially a Mathews, I check the timing, I check the paper tear, do all that stuff, because the paper tear didn't warrant to me that I have to shift this cam a lot. The tear was very close on this bow. So when I shot the broadhead and the broadhead was way off, I just thought, let's just make a little tiny micro adjust. Now, if the paper tear was way off, I would then go to switching top hatch, which is a cool feature that Mathews has, just so your rest stays as center shot as possible. You don't want your angle of your rest and your arrow to be way off. With this bow, left the spacers alone, I can just make a micro adjust on the rest to get it broadhead tuned. And that's with any other really Mathews models. Left the top hats alone and just went ahead and just followed the broadhead with the rest. So in essence, my broadhead was hitting right. I moved the rest just slightly over to the right. I'm still very, very close to center shot, but that allowed me to get the broadhead and the field tip to hit exactly alike. If the paper tear on this bow would have been greater, we can take these spacers and top hats like I've been talking about and swap them over. That can also help with the broadhead, but in this case, since it was so close on paper, I just went ahead and just barely touched the rest, since most guys aren't gonna have a press to be able to move the cam. But on these Mathews bows, you can switch the cam lean just with those spacers. Very important to check your broadhead, shoot them a couple times, especially if you're outdoor shooting. We have outdoor environments, you know, different variables that can affect us as far as wind, gusts, stuff like that. It's important just to shoot it over and over, just to get a consistent group and find out where your broadhead's actually hitting, and then go ahead and make your minor adjustments. And if you guys have any other questions about it on tuning a Mathews or tuning a Bowtech or a Hoyt or Elite or whatever, just holler at us. We can answer those questions, film you a video, whatever y'all need. If you got any other tuning ideas or tuning questions, just let us know. Thanks, guys.